You'll never guess how this one ends. In Hollywood, there are a few stars who have made a lasting impression by sticking to a certain type of character, and Sam Elliott is definitely one of them. Known as the cowboy with his deep southern voice and iconic mustache, he was one of the industry's most beloved figures until he voiced his criticism towards the movie Power of the Dog for being too woke. But before I go on with the video, watch what he has to say about it right here.
Did you see Power of the Dog? Did you watch that movie?
Yeah, you want to talk about that piece of shit?
Oh, no. You didn't like that one?
No.
Okay, why?
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I didn't like it anyway.
Yeah.
I looked at it when I was down there in Texas in 1883.
Yeah.
And what really brought it home to me the other day, why I said, do you want to fucking talk about it?
Yeah.
There was a fucking full-page ad out in the L.A. Times, and there was a review. Not a review, but a
blurb?
A clip, yeah.
Yeah.
And it talked about the evisceration of the American myth.
Huh.
And I thought, what the fuck? What the fuck?
What does that mean?
This is the guy that's done Westerns forever.
For his whole life.
The evisceration of the American West. I mean, they made it look like, what are all those dancers, those guys in New York that wear bow ties and not much else?
Uh-huh.
Remember them from back in the day?
Oh, the Chippendales?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what all these cowboys in that movie looked like.
Uh-huh.
They're all running around in chaps and no shirts. There's all these allusions of homosexuality throughout the fucking movie.
Yeah. I think that's what the movie's about.
Hollywood has a long history of creative freedom, but sometimes its efforts to diversify or modernize genres can lead to a questionable decision. While the movie Power of the Dog was praised by many and has a 94% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, others criticized it for distorting history and reshaping it to fit modern ideological agendas. You see, Western films have traditionally been seen as a genre based in historical settings that often represent a time period of rugged masculinity, the American frontier, and the specific cultural values of that era. This doesn't mean that gay people didn't exist back then, and far from it. And it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong, but it wasn't as widespread and accepted in society as it was in modern times. That's why Sam was vocal on it, criticizing the movie for forcing progressive narratives into a genre of movie like this. This also raises the point that Hollywood is actively trying to reinterpret history through a modern lens, where instead of telling stories that are representative of the time, the focus is shifted towards promoting woke social messages. By doing so, they risk ignoring the historical significance of the era in order to appeal to a specific political movement. But that's not all. Watch what Sam says next.
What the f*** is this woman from...
Who, Jane Campion?
Yeah. She's a brilliant director, by the way. I love her work, previous work.
Sure.
But what the f*** does this woman from down there
New Zealand.
New Zealand know about the American West? And why in the f*** does she shoot this movie in New Zealand and call it Montana?
This movie...
And say, this is the way it was.
This got you, this movie.
So that rubbed me the wrong way, pal.
Yeah.
And the myth is... that they were these, macho men out there with the cattle.
Yeah.
I'd just come from Texas where I was hanging out with families, not men, but families.
Yeah.
Big, long, extended, multiple generation families that made their living and their lives were all about being cowboys. And boy, when I saw that, I thought, what the
Yeah.
Where are we in this world today?
To be fair, a lot of the popular Western movies were filmed outside of the US. For instance, the Dollars trilogy was filmed in Spain and Italy. However, you can only imagine the wave of criticism and hate that Sam received for these comments. People started accusing him of being out of touch or even bigoted for not embracing the film's departure from traditional Western norms. This response simply escalated into a larger campaign to cancel him, and the campaign was trending on Twitter at the time. The Independent even released an article titled "The Power of the Dog. Netflix dismisses Sam Elliott after actor calls Oscar nomination film a piece of S." And this is nothing short of clickbait, because when you actually read that headline, you'd think that the man had made a deal with Netflix and was fired after his comments. And the truth is, however, that Netflix's Twitter account posted a picture from Power of the Dog in which Kirsten Dunst's character says he's just a man, only another man. The movie's director, Jane Campion, then also responded to Sam in a later appearance, and her response was kind of bizarre.
Were you surprised by Sam Elliott's comments?
I think Sam, look, what can I say? I'm sorry. He was being a little bit of a bitch. And I'm sorry to say it, but he's not a cowboy. He's an actor. And the West is a mythic space, and there's a lot of room on the range.
That's your next movie, Room on the Range.
Yeah. And, you know, like, I think it is a little bit sexist, because you think about the number of amazing westerns that were made in Spain by Sergio Leone. I consider myself a creator.
That's peak woke culture for you. She tried to frame Sam's comments as a personal attack on her rather than engaging with the substance of his critique. Instead of actually addressing his opinions about the film's portrayal of the Western themes and the cowboy image, Campion labeled his remarks as sexist and unfair, which could be best summed up as trying to play victim in order to deflect attention away from the legitimate points he made. By doing so, she avoided engaging with the actual content of the criticism and instead focused on casting herself as a target of unjust criticism. And it's particularly ironic given that even before starting his critique of the movie, Sam had expressed admiration for Campion's earlier work, showing that it wasn't coming from a place of animosity, rather it was genuine disagreement with the film's approach. But pointing that out wouldn't benefit the woke narrative she was trying to push. It's also funny to me how quick she was to victimize herself, even though if Sam adopted a similar mindset, he could have called her out for culturally appropriating cowboys. Eventually, things took a surprising turn where Sam said this in a later interview.
Yeah, first, don't go do a podcast whose call letters are WTF. That movie struck a chord with me. And in trying to tell the guy, the WTF guy, how I felt about the film, I wasn't very articulate about it. I didn't articulate it very well. And I said some things that hurt people. And I feel terrible about that. The gay community has been incredible to me my entire career. And I mean my entire career from before I got started when I was in this town. Friends on every level, in every job description. Up until today with my agent, my dear friend, my agent of a number of years. And I'm sorry that I hurt any of those friends. And someone that I loved. And anyone else. By the words that I used.
Some people would describe this as Sam realizing the mistake he made and viewing it as an attempt to fix things, but knowing Hollywood, it's safe to say that he might have been forced to come out with a public apology in an industry where dissent against the dominant culture trends can lead to major backlash, including irreversible damage to one's career. It's not uncommon for celebrities to issue apologies that seem more like strategic moves than genuine regret. We'll probably never find out what drove Sam to issue this apology, but it's sad and troubling to see someone of his level of success and wealth feel compelled to apologize for expressing his own thoughts without a filter. But that's Hollywood in a nutshell, a place that claims to be liberal and for pushing the boundaries while silencing and limiting free speech at the same time. I think if someone has the right to criticize Western movies, it should be either Clint Eastwood or Sam Elliott, especially since they dedicated a large portion of their whole career and lives towards making movies in this genre. Apart from that, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think Sam did the right thing by issuing a public apology? I don't. Let's get the conversation rolling in the comments down below.